Let's explore the remarkable societies that arose across North America long before European contact, each developing complex social, political, and architectural forms suited to their unique environments. From the towering mounds of the Midwest and Southeast to the intricate irrigation networks of the Southwest, these civilizations created advanced societies with rich cultural traditions, complex trade systems, and monumental construction projects. Their approaches to resource management, social hierarchy, and communal identity reflect a sophisticated understanding of both their natural surroundings and social structures, offering a glimpse into the diversity and resilience of pre-Columbian North American life. One of the most striking examples of this complexity is found in the mound-building societies that developed in the Midwest and Southeast regions, stretching back over 5,000 years. These societies, including the Adena, Hopewell, and later the Mississippian cultures, constructed large, ceremonial earthen mounds that served as centers of ritual, social, and political life. The earliest of these societies, the Adena culture, created simple burial mounds as early as 1000 BCE, some of which contained elaborate grave goods crafted from materials sourced from far-off regions, indicating the presence of trade networks and a class of elite individuals. Following the Adena, the Hopewell culture expanded on mound-building practices, creating intricate earthworks in geometric shapes and increasingly elaborate burial sites. The Hopewell engaged in extensive trade, acquiring goods such as copper from the Great Lakes, mica from the Appalachians, and marine shells from the Gulf of Mexico. These items, buried alongside the dead, suggest a society with social stratification and a belief in an afterlife where wealth and status carried on beyond death. By the Mississippian period, mound building had reached its zenith with the creation of vast complexes like Cahokia, located near present-day St. Louis. Cahokia was a thriving urban center with a highly organized society, encompassing a sprawling complex of over 100 mounds, plazas, and residential areas. At its heart stood Monk's Mound, the largest earthen structure in North America, towering nearly 100 feet high and likely supporting a temple or the residence of a chief. Cahokia's leaders exercised control over vast areas, as evidenced by the monumental scale of their construction projects, which required an organized labor force and centralized leadership. Archaeological evidence, such as the burials in Mound 72, reveals a society with clear social stratification. Here, the remains of elites were interred with objects of prestige, including finely crafted items made from exotic materials, and were accompanied by individuals who may have been sacrificed, underscoring the power and ritual importance of Cahokia's leaders. These mound-building societies exemplify the diversity and innovation of pre-Columbian North America, showcasing how communities could organize and sustain complex societies through trade, social hierarchy, and ceremonial life. The mounds themselves, which continue to stand as silent witnesses to these ancient cultures, offer a powerful reminder of the creativity and sophistication of the civilizations that once flourished in the heart of the continent. The Mississippian culture, which thrived from around 800 to 1600 CE, represents one of the most advanced and complex societies in pre-Columbian North America, with Cahokia standing as its most impressive and influential urban center. Located near present-day St. Louis, Cahokia reached its peak around 1050 to 1200 CE, becoming the largest and most sophisticated city north of Mesoamerica. At its height, Cahokia was home to an estimated 10,000 to 20,000 people, with influence extending over a vast area, connecting smaller villages and communities into a broad, interconnected cultural network. Cahokia's layout and monumental structures reflect a society with advanced urban planning, a highly stratified social system, and centralized political control under powerful leaders. At the heart of Cahokia was Monk's Mound, a massive earthwork standing nearly 100 feet high and covering more than 14 acres at its base. This monumental mound was the largest pre-Columbian structure in North America, serving as the ceremonial and political center of the city. Scholars believe it supported a wooden structure, likely the residence of a powerful chief, or a temple dedicated to religious rituals. The sheer scale of Monk's Mound and its labor-intensive construction suggest a society capable of mobilizing and organizing a large workforce, underscoring the centralized authority of Cahokia's leaders. Surrounding Monk's Mound were over 100 additional mounds of varying sizes and purposes, many used as burial sites or platforms for elite residences, which helped reinforce the status of Cahokia's ruling class. Cahokia's society was deeply stratified, with evidence of social hierarchy apparent in burial practices and the distribution of wealth. One of the most striking examples of this stratification is found in Mound 72, where archaeologists uncovered the remains of a high-status individual, often referred to as the Birdman. This burial site included over 20,000 shell beads, arranged in the shape of a falcon, symbolizing power and prestige. Alongside this individual were the remains of more than 50 other people, many of whom may have been sacrificed to accompany the Birdman in the afterlife. Such elaborate burial rituals reveal a society that placed great importance on status and ritual, and one where the elite could command extraordinary displays of loyalty, even in death. This use of sacrifice and grave goods reflects both the spiritual beliefs and social organization of Cahokia, where leaders were not only political figures but also held significant religious authority. The Mississippian culture was sustained by a robust agricultural economy, with Cahokia's residents cultivating large quantities of maize, beans, squash, and other staple crops. The fertile floodplains of the Mississippi River provided an ideal environment for agriculture, allowing Cahokia to support a dense population and accumulate surplus resources. This agricultural base supported the development of specialized crafts, trade networks, and large-scale construction projects. Cahokia became a regional center for trade, drawing materials from far-reaching areas, including copper from the Great Lakes, shells from the Gulf Coast, and chert from nearby quarries. This trade network not only brought valuable resources to Cahokia but also spread Mississippian cultural practices, artifacts, and influence across the Midwest and Southeast. Religious and ceremonial life was central to Mississippian culture, with Cahokia serving as a focal point for rituals and gatherings. The city was organized around large, open plazas used for public ceremonies, festivals, and possibly games that reinforced communal identity and social cohesion. Cahokia also featured a large wooden structure known as Woodhenge, a circle of wooden posts aligned with the solstices and equinoxes, which likely served as a calendar for tracking solar events. This alignment with celestial events underscores the Mississippian reverence for the cosmos and their understanding of astronomy, which they integrated into their spiritual practices. Through these ceremonies, the people of Cahokia celebrated seasonal cycles, honored their deities, and reinforced the authority of their leaders, who were often regarded as intermediaries between the spiritual and human realms. The Mississippian culture, exemplified by Cahokia, reflects a society of remarkable organizational ability, cultural richness, and architectural ambition. Cahokia's monumental mounds, extensive trade networks, and ritual practices reveal a civilization deeply connected to its environment and structured around principles of social hierarchy, economic exchange, and religious devotion, showcasing one of the most advanced prehistoric societies in North America. Complex societies in the American Southwest, including the Mogollon, Hohokam, and ancestral Puebloans, adapted ingeniously to the arid environment, creating sustainable communities that thrived despite the region's limited water resources. The Hohokam, who lived in the desert valleys of present-day Arizona, developed an extensive irrigation system, transforming arid land into fertile fields. These irrigation canals, some stretching up to 20 miles, enabled the Hohokam to cultivate crops like maize, beans, squash, and cotton. This agricultural success supported large settlements and allowed the Hohokam to trade surplus crops and crafted goods, including intricately designed pottery and shell jewelry. Their economic network extended to the Gulf of California, where they acquired shells that they crafted into ornaments, and through trade, Hohokam culture and influence spread widely across the region. The ancestral Puebloans, known for their monumental stone architecture, reached their cultural zenith in the Four Corners region, particularly at sites like Chaco Canyon. Chaco Canyon was a center of Puebloan society, featuring massive structures known as great houses, including Pueblo Bonito, which contained hundreds of rooms and rose several stories high. These great houses were constructed with remarkable precision, using stone and timber transported from miles away, reflecting the sophisticated organization required to build such structures in a harsh environment. The ancestral Puebloans also created kivas, circular, subterranean ceremonial chambers that served as spaces for religious gatherings and community meetings. Chaco Canyon was likely a ceremonial and political hub, attracting visitors from distant Puebloan communities and functioning as a gathering place for rituals, trade, and governance. The Mogollon people, who lived in the mountainous regions of present-day New Mexico, developed unique cliff dwellings and pit houses, adapting their architecture to the rugged landscape. By constructing homes within caves and beneath overhanging cliffs, the Mogollon gained protection from the elements, conserving heat in winter and offering cool shelter in summer. The Mogollon are especially noted for their pottery, which was often decorated with intricate designs, reflecting their artistic traditions and cultural identity. Their communities were organized around central plazas and ceremonial spaces, demonstrating a social cohesion centered on shared cultural practices and communal gatherings. Chaco Canyon also featured an extensive road system that radiated outward from the canyon, connecting it with distant settlements across the southwest. These roads, straight and meticulously planned, facilitated the movement of people, goods, and ideas throughout the region, reinforcing Chaco's role as a cultural and economic hub. Archaeological evidence of turquoise, seashells, and other trade goods in Chaco suggests a far-reaching network that connected the Puebloans to Mesoamerican civilizations, where materials like turquoise were highly prized. This exchange brought valuable resources to the Southwest and likely introduced new cultural influences and ideas. Social organization in these Southwest societies was deeply tied to spiritual beliefs and practices. Religious life centered on ceremonies and seasonal rituals, often held in kivas, where people gathered to honor the forces of nature and their ancestors. In Puebloan society, religious leadership and social organization were interwoven, with religious authorities overseeing rituals that promoted community unity and ensured agricultural fertility. The kivas and plazas served as focal points for communal life, where members of the society reinforced their shared beliefs and traditions, ensuring continuity across generations. Through these practices, communities in the American Southwest maintained a cohesive social fabric that enabled them to navigate the challenges of their environment. In all these cultures, the ability to create complex societies despite limited resources highlights a remarkable adaptation to the American Southwest's challenging landscape. From the Hohokam's irrigation canals to the ancestral Puebloans' great houses and ceremonial kivas, these societies demonstrated resourcefulness, community planning, and a deeply ingrained spiritual life, building enduring legacies that continue to influence Southwestern culture today. The indigenous societies of the Northwest Coast, stretching from Northern California to Alaska, were unique among complex societies in that they did not rely on agriculture to sustain their populations. Instead, they developed intricate social hierarchies, cultural practices, and economic systems based on the rich natural resources available in their environment. The abundant rivers, forests, and coastal waters provided a reliable supply of food, including salmon, shellfish, sea mammals, and game, allowing these groups to live in large, permanent settlements despite their status as foragers. By mastering fishing, gathering, and hunting techniques, these communities amass surpluses, freeing up time and resources for artistic expression, social rituals, and trade. The social structure of the Northwest Coast societies, such as the Haida, Kwakwaka'wakw, and Tlingit, was highly stratified, with distinct ranks that included chiefs, nobles, commoners, and slaves. Wealth and social status were expressed through the accumulation and distribution of goods, and prestigious families amassed significant influence and control over resources. The potlatch ceremony, a central cultural institution, was both a feast and a redistribution event, where chiefs displayed their wealth by giving away valuable items like blankets, canoes, and carved artifacts to guests. These ceremonies were not only acts of generosity but also reinforced social hierarchy, as a chief's prestige increased with the scale of his potlatch and the value of his gifts. By redistributing wealth, potlatches also maintained social cohesion, balancing wealth and status within the community. Art and craftsmanship flourished in these societies, with the creation of elaborate totem poles, canoes, masks, and ceremonial objects that were often richly decorated with symbolic designs and animal motifs. Totem poles, carved from massive cedar trees, served as visual representations of family lineage, status, and stories, often depicting clan symbols such as eagles, bears, and wolves. These carvings held spiritual significance, connecting families to ancestral spirits and reinforcing their social roles and traditions. Masks were also used in ritual dances and storytelling, where performers embodied mythical beings and ancestors, sharing cultural narratives that taught moral values and social roles. This artistic expression played a central role in community life, allowing Northwest Coast societies to communicate identity, reinforce social hierarchy, and celebrate their connection to the natural world. Trade networks extended along the coast and inland, facilitating the exchange of goods such as copper, shells, and decorated woven blankets, which were highly valued for their craftsmanship and symbolic meaning. Copper, in particular, was a symbol of wealth and prestige, often crafted into copper shields that were displayed during potlatches and traded among elites. The acquisition and display of these goods not only signified status but also strengthened alliances and social bonds between different communities. Through these networks, the affluent foragers of the Northwest Coast maintained a stable, prosperous economy that connected various tribes and promoted cultural exchange. The Northwest Coast societies developed a rich spiritual and cosmological worldview, closely tied to the natural environment that sustained them. They believed that animals, plants, and natural features possessed spirits and that humans had a responsibility to honor and maintain balance with these beings. Seasonal ceremonies, often held in winter, included dances, feasts, and storytelling events that reinforced these beliefs, celebrating the interconnectedness of life and the importance of respecting the natural world. These rituals reflected a deep spiritual understanding of the environment, embedding ecological knowledge and reverence into the cultural fabric of the Northwest Coast societies. We'd love to hear your thoughts on possible future topics. Leave your suggestions in the comments, and let's keep the conversation going. As always, our references and further reading are listed in the description below if you'd like to dive deeper into the subject. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. And do not forget, subscribe to the knowledge.